BioWare's Mass Effect Andromeda is easily one of the more underwhelming releases from the developer, and for good reason. The story, mission design, and technical stability were considerably weaker than what fans experienced with the original trilogy. It's a disappointment, sure, but thanks to the magic of mods, we can instead shift our focus to some of the more enjoyable aspects of the game to make them even more enjoyable. To that effect, here are 15 mods that drastically change Mass Effect Andromeda. Road Rage. Mass Effect Andromeda's Nomad is most certainly an improvement over the Mako that fans drove in the original, although its utility is rather limited when you think about it. Enter Road Rage, a mod developed by username Wadafuzz that basically does two things. A, it makes the damage output higher when ramming enemies while scaling it along with player level, and B, allows the Nomad to climb steeper slopes when in four-wheel drive. In a nutshell, the Road Rage mod basically makes interacting with the Nomad a whole lot more satisfying and useful. Shorter landing and departure cinematics. Developed by Forkinator, this mod doesn't add any bespoke mechanics or content to the game, but introduces a rather appreciable quality of life improvement for players. As fans might already know, the cutscenes that play during landing and departure can start to feel pretty lengthy after a while, and this mod shortens the cinematics runtime by about 90%, resulting in a much snappier experience throughout. Better Squad. Ever felt that despite your best efforts, your squad mates never make a noticeable impact on the battlefield, leaving you to pick up the slack at all times? Developer Forkinator's Better Squad mod aims to remedy this very issue by increasing offensive and defensive passive skills and powers of all squad mates in a way that fits within each character's role and natural abilities. While this does make the game a bit easier to get through, it's much better than having to fend entire waves of enemies practically all by yourself. It's rather fascinating how tweaking some numbers can result in a much better experience throughout. Shut Up Sam. As one would have already guessed by its name, this mod, developed by Wadafuzz, removes the annoying comments that simulated adaptive matrix endlessly barks at the player about the changes in environmental variables like temperature and radiation. Sam can be helpful at times, sure, but when you're trying to command your squad mates through these uphill battles, you'd rather it shut up and let you focus on what actually matters. Hypermobility. This mod essentially turns the character into a superhero by imbuing you with powers of enhanced mobility. Your character can sprint faster, jump higher, and land through longer distances, allowing you to quickly make your way across arenas while making you a tough target to gun down. But even apart from that utility, controlling your character just feels so much better thanks to these expanded mobility options. Multiplayer powers and abilities in single player. Much like Mass Effect 3 before it, Mass Effect Andromeda also included a multiplayer mode, although the game's lukewarm reception and disappointing sales made it really hard to find games even early on during the game's lifecycle. Those wanting to enjoy the multiplayer exclusive powers should look into this mod, which adds them to the single-player component by placing them at the end of their respective skill trees. These powers include Avenger Strike, Fortify, Warp, Snap Freeze, just to name a few. Flying mod. What's better than being able to leap through large gaps, we hear you ask? Well, what about flying through those environments instead? Formerly known as the Iron Man mod, this wave-bin-developed mod enables you to zoom across the environments at blazing fast speeds through the help of rocket propellers on your back. Suffice to say, it's a supremely enjoyable addition that's just as fun as it is powerful. Profiles Reworked. Developed by Kamu, the Profiles Reworked mod does exactly what it says. It alters the profiles to better suit a player's playstyle. As players might already know, not all profiles in the vanilla game are equally useful, as some stat boosts can end up feeling rather useless when compared to others. This mod rebalances these elements, while adding a couple of bonus stats for specific class builds to make profiles an essential part of decking out a character. Project Pretty. Mass Effect Andromeda received a lot of slack for its robotic facial animations and character models upon release, and while subsequent patches have improved them by a significant margin, they can still be off-putting at times. Project Pretty changes these character models to make them prettier, and while we aren't pretending that this completely changes the game or anything, it's most certainly an improvement over the original. HUD Overhaul. As is the case with most AAA releases these days, Mass Effect Andromeda's HUD is just a visual overload of information, which can become an unnecessary distraction in certain situations. Developed by Dysmanic, this mod transfers some markers from the compass and rearranges them across the HUD to make navigation a much smoother experience. It's a simple mod, but it's one worth looking into considering its utility. Balanced weapons. While the combat in Mass Effect Andromeda is an improvement over the original trilogy, not all weapons are created equal. Some weapons are obviously more powerful than others, which can make choices, especially in the late game, seem rather restricted. The Balanced Weapon mod increases the base damage of some weapons to make them all equally viable choices in combat, so players don't have to abandon a weapon of choice just because it doesn't have the required stats for the job. Larger enemy groups. This mod is solely for those wanting a more challenging experience out of Mass Effect Andromeda. As the name suggests, this mod increases the number of enemies that you'll encounter throughout the game. It may not be all that enjoyable all by itself, but throw in the balanced weapons and better squad mods together with this one, and you'll be in for a treat. MEA FIXPACK. Developed by Nightwolf 2503, MEA FIXPACK aims to address the many bugs and glitches that were left unresolved by the developers. Those who have played through Mass Effect Andromeda would know that it's rather easy to fall victim to a glitch that could halt progress, or just come across several visual oddities. Install MEA FIXPACK, and your chances of coming across such problems should be down to a minimum. Extended hover duration. This one may sound a bit repetitive considering we already discussed enhanced mobility and flying mod, but it's still useful nevertheless. The extended hover duration mod essentially allows you to increase your hover duration by 100%, or to any higher number that you may desire, including infinity. You can snipe enemies from the air using this mod, which looks to be a really fun time. Quick loot. Looting and gathering materials is an important part of any RPG, and Mass Effect Andromeda is no different. Players well versed with the game might know how cumbersome it can be to repeatedly use the item pickup menu when you usually take up all the loot that's offered to you. The Quick Loot mod removes this needless hassle by removing this item pickup menu and looting everything when you interact with a fallen enemy or a chest. That's all for now. If you enjoy what you saw, please hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, now is a great time to subscribe. We upload brand new videos every single day. After subscribing, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you next time, right here on Gaming Bolt.